Hi, my name is Ken Lasserson. I wrote the Microbiome prescription website, and this is a update on probably want to say a bit of a eureka moment, or want to explain some changes I'm doing and why I'm doing them. As some of you know, I've done a series of special studies, and in the studies I've done statistical analysis, trying to find all of the bacteria, enzyme, and potentially some cases compounds which are statistically significant for a particular condition. And what we find is this whole bunch of bacteria that are significant. Almost all of them, you see the same pattern. The reason the bacteria that are significant are ones which are low. Nothing shows up as being high, which can be viewed other than a false detection. We're doing a 99% accuracy, which means 1 in 100 is probably going to be false. We are dealing with, for example, in this case, we have 160 items. We had one being the count being high, 90, the other 159 was low, similar for here. So the result is, across the board, it is not too much of a bacteria that's causing the problem. It's not enough of a assorted group of bacteria, not any specific ones, but the whole group of different bacteria as a whole is where the problem is, which is a sort of enlightening moment, because I've been going off the old attitude, which is very common out there. Oh, you must have too much of just bacteria, it's causing the problem. You have an overgrowth of just bacteria. This is very much last millennium thinking. Numbers don't bear it out. And once I saw the same pattern repeating time and time again, the light said, okay, I have to do some rethinking of my assumptions and bring the assumptions into line with statistical data. And here we have, for enzymes, we have the same thing happening. And you'll see often we have the study numbers being 30% or somewhere around that of the observed number. And if you go over to the actual reference one, what we'll find when we get there is that we find that almost every case we find statistical significance for bacteria, for enzymes, but when we come to compound, in generally compounds are not statistically significant associated. These are compounds being produced by the bacteria. They may be, but they just don't show up with statistical significance of sufficient. They were easy targets to do, but there seems to be more complexity with them. And we see all of them sitting there are some pretty good numbers, etc. So let's go in, and I'm going to be talking about probiotics only this time. The post just goes with sites. Two things I'm changing. One is I'm going to be giving an option. I'm not going to force anything. People can work using the system however they choose, and that's one of the things I really want to keep. Is I don't want to be prescriptive on how you take a look at your data. So what's is there will be kept there, and some of that is based on the assumption of too high and too low being significant. What I'm going to give now is the option to deal only with too lows for suggestions, which I believe may give better suggestions that are more likely to cause major improvement. So it's sort of saying, wait a minute, now from statistics, I see which way I need to pay attention. I don't need to pay attention to high ones. What I really need to do is pay attention to low ones. And similarly, when we come down to enzymes, we go the same way. It is too low enzymes. Now, most of these enzymes you will not be able to find as supplements or whatever. A few of them you will. For example, my post on autism, one of the enzymes cited there, one of the top ones, happens to be available as a supplement, and that supplement happens to be demonstrated to be effective for a fair percentage of people with autism, which means, well, basically means that the projected model is making suggestions, predictions, which are cross-validated with actual clinical studies, in which case, although we're not able to test the predictions, we can infer from this cross-validation that the predictions are probably more than just reasonable. They are probably very reasonable. And we have the logic of it being well documented, etc. So let's go over and hop on. And here I have there, so we can go into my profile and we can see things there. But where things are done, okay, two things. One is cake suggestion used to be on this page. I ditched it. I moved it only showing up on the second page, which is changing my microbiome page. And if you go down here, you will see there, and you will notice I have the supplements being deprecated. And the reason I'm marking them as being deprecated is very simple, because compounds don't show up as statistically significant in general. So although I'm making predictions on it, the predictions are probably, how should I say it, just verbosity, which are unlikely to actually have benefits. You can do them if you want. It's still there. I marked it deprecated, and now have done the revised probiotics. So let's go and see what happens. When I click revise probiotics, it goes and lists things down. And what we have here is a bit of an interesting thing. It is probiotics which are actually out there or which are potentially out there. Some cases, like the E. coli here, is available as two probiotics, Symbiflor and Nudiflor are both there. We have some other things here which are actually available in some of these soil-based things, such as prescriptive cysts or equilibrium. They are there, so they are potentially there. The unfortunate problem is often the quantity in those products is so very little, because they are one of 120 or 150 different bacteria all in one little capsule. So you're not going to get very much of them. So the result is some of them you are going to go say, that's nice, but I'm not going to get sufficient community forming units or billions community forming. E. coli here in this case, which is perfect for me, chronic fatigue syndrome period, and then go down there and you will see different ones sitting there. And what you can do is you can just go up here and say, okay, what are the bifidals? Here are the bifidals. Which ones are the best? What? None of those are available as probiotics. Cough, cough, cough. I have to come all the way down to Animus for 25, which is okay. That's nice. Bifidum is less, and Bifidus longum. So in other words, of the available probiotics, you can go and see which one is likely to be the best. And if we go over and just say, okay, let's look at Lactobacillus, and we see the best one is Plantarum, which agrees with a lot of suggestions for chronic fatigue syndrome. Plantarum's there. And then we have a bunch of other good ones which ain't available as retail probiotics, or at least not yet. A fair number of them. And you may want to go down. Here we have Keferi, which is available in Italy. It's not kefir, it's a Keferi, which is a specific strain which was extracted from them testing several hundred different types of kefir and finding one particular bacteria was overwhelmingly good. And guess what? It shows up there. And you can go on down there and take a look at other ones. There is some naming changes back and forth there. So sometimes you will see Lionel Lactobacillus frontarum. You probably know it as just Lactobacillus frontarum, so it's there. Same with Lactobacillus silvarius is a name, but the new official name has a lingi in front of it. So it's something that you just simply need to be aware of. Or if you want to go over, at this one, it's going to be a little, okay, there we go. And now we have the different types of bacillus, and this is available in some probiotics I know, and that's there. Although with that one, you do have to watch out because it's also a histamine producer. Subsilice is there, natural is there. So the natural I often take in the native form, which is as the Japanese dessert food, natto, and the TTO, which you can find in some Japanese grocery shops. And they're there, so it gives you a ranking by them, and that's it. The purpose of it is for the probiotics which are available and the bacteria that are likely potential probiotics one. If somebody out there, hint, 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 decides to try both cultivating it and producing it as a probiotic, it gives you a list of things for a variety of conditions for people. So that's one example. If I go over and do, let's say, a more recent one, and we see E. coli again for me, which is not unreasonable. Chronic fatigue syndrome people, or even those in remission, tend to be low in it, which means that a whole bunch of the associated enzymes are low. And then we can go down here and see, okay, what do we have for bifidus? Okay, there we go, and there we go. Bifidum would be the best one. Longum infatus is never a good one, and then ones which have predicted less impact. Or if we go and do something like Akkermansia, okay, that's what Akkermansia is going to get for me. Okay, 22. If I want to check for Enterococcus faeciums, different ones, and you can see how much their impact is. So you can go in and you can just play around and then go off on the Holy Grail quest for the Holy Grail of finding a product with that bacteria in it. Okay, so that's basically it. That's what is being done. It does the calculations all for you from your microbiome sample, calculates out things. Now, I should point out that these are, the purpose of these is to list potential probiotics. The bacteria which are the ones which you are low in but not available probiotic are probably the real cause of a whole bunch of the symptoms. So those are the ones you want to improve using the suggestion engine. But if you are in a probiotic frame of mind, then this will give you a ability to rank order which probiotic you should be using based on the enzyme production in your microbiome. And as stated, if you use Biomicide or even Ubiome, it will go through and calculate things. I can see here my old one, which I think I was in a flare there. E. coli is down, but a whole bunch of other things moved up the list. Again, for me, E. coli will be a regular on my list, and I actually do supplement regularly using Semaphore too. But it's probably going to be an ongoing problem for a while, although I am in remission. Okay, so that's basically it. To do a recap, all the cake suggestions are now on this page. There's revised there. There's a link to the blog that goes with this video, explaining things a bit more. Specify that it's a revised, so right away. The old way you had to specify 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, and it look at the high and the lows both. Here we are looking at the low only because only the low has statistical significance for all the conditions I've looked at so far, which means, okay, forget about having too much of it. If you have too much of it, it probably just gets flushed out of your system. If you don't have enough of it, it will cause issues, symptoms. The supplements is derived again from the products being produced by the bacteria. That doesn't show up being statistically significant in most cases. There are 1 or 2 times it is. So I'm keeping it around, but it's being deprecated, as in, unless you are unless you know it really applies to you, don't bother using it. And then the old results, which are based on oats test and combining it with the cake data and your microbiome. So it's sort of let's mix things up a bit. Okay, so I'm going to shut up now and get everything online, and that's it. Have fun.